Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Um, hope you're having a good week. In this new world of ours. Still working on this little guy. Which is probably hard to see. Isn't that wild how it's this handspun? How this one looks so different than this one. Same yarn. So, you all are checking in from everywhere. It is sunny in Colorado today, and I have been waiting for the day that I can work on the deck. I don't know if today is the day, but maybe at least I can do a little bit of stuff outside. It's been raining, like it rained all weekend, sort of. Not really, but it felt like it. So, sounds like it's raining from various places where you are also. Good morning, everybody from all over. Well, South Carolina apparently is having a beautiful spring, so maybe we should all, I was going to say we should all go to South Carolina, but that's not going to happen. Arizona and Alabama and Gig Harbor. What a lovely place. Y'all just make me think of all the places that I would love to visit now that we can't go anywhere. So isn't that interesting? Maryland and Kansas and Florida and California. Rebecca Day, Barbara, that's funny. Kit got her new Biggie Sister loom with her Boston accent. Good, Kit. I hope you're having fun with that. That's a Mirex. Beautiful day in Durango too. I hope we get your beautiful weather, Kit. Durango is also in Colorado, but Kit is in Durango, which is in the southwestern part of the state, not far from where I grew up, actually, in New Mexico. And I live in Fort Collins, which is almost at the Wyoming border. It's not on the eastern edge of the state, but it probably takes a good 8 hours for me to drive from here to where Kit lives, even though we're in the same state. That's just for all of you who live in those tiny states that you can drive across in very little time. Connecticut. Good morning, everybody. I hope you've been doing some weaving. Oh, Kit, that's a great question. Speaking of Durango and Kit, she got a new Merex loom, and she's asking, did you loosen the tension on the big sister when you finish for the day? This is my opinion, and some of you who've also been weaving a long time may have other opinions, but I believe in Tapestry that you never release the tension. You release it when you advance the warp or take it off or whatever, but I don't release the tension on my tapestries ever. Even if I know I'm going to be gone for a month and I'm not going to touch this loom, I don't release the tension. Maybe I would let it out a little tiny bit, but if you release and if you make the tension tighter and looser all the time in tapestry, you're constantly stretching and letting the stretch off of that warp, and you're going to affect the way the tapestry looks, in my opinion. I've never done a study on that. That would be interesting, to use two identical looms and have one, weave a little bit every single day, have one always tight and one release and tighten, release and tighten. So if anybody's up for that and you have like 2 Murex looms, that would be a great thing to do. Anyway, that's my opinion. Anyone else can chime in with their opinion, but I learned tapestry weaving to start with on Rio Grande walking looms. They hold super tight tensions, and you actually stand on the treadle is on a counterbalance. So you stand on the treadle and you are actually stretching the warp. Your weight is against the warp, pulling the shed open. So we never release the tension on those either. Anyway, that's my opinion there. Good. Marlena says also she doesn't release the tension mid-project. That'd be an interesting survey to do of tapestry weavers who've been weaving for a long time. I don't know of any who release the tension, but I could be I've just never asked that question. Oh, Janet. I was waiting for Janet to chime in. Janet says she never releases the tension. Janet knows stuff, so we're going to go with that. Yes, I did see the Joan Baxter thing yesterday. So, yes, there were technical issues, which is too bad I feel bad for the producer. I don't know what happened, but something happened and the thing was on a loop. And but about an hour later, he had the whole video up, and so you could watch the whole thing. And definitely listen to the audio that comes after. The video is only like 14 minutes, which I thought it would be. Of course, those of us who weave tapestry wanted an in-depth look at Joan Baxter and her life. And so I was like, oh, but that's just a little taste. Can't we have more? Anyway, but it was lovely. And I believe it's on Facebook. So someone has the link, pop it in, and I'll put it on the Change the Shed page when we're done here. Sorry, I'm looking for a piece of paper to write that down on. I'll remember. Kate, we could ask Sarah. I didn't see Sarah log in today, but Kate says on the loom tension thing, it would be interesting to hear from Sarah Sweat and folks who use a lot of wool warp. I worry more about leaving wool under high tension for a long time. And that is a great question. I believe that the Gobelin weavers at the Gobelin in Paris, they're using wool warps on those big upright looms. And I don't think they ever take the tension off, and the tension is super high. They also break a lot more warps than their counterparts on the Abusan looms who use cotton seine twine. But I will ask Sarah about that. In my experience watching her weave, I never saw her release the tension on a loom, but I don't know for sure. It's a good question because different materials act differently. Linen also acts differently. I would think with linen that you wouldn't. Oh, Sarah. Ha! Sarah, tension is released regularly on a backstrap loom. It's kind of weird, but hard to compare to pipe looms where I never release the tension. Oh, see, I wasn't crazy. So that is, if you all didn't see that, that's Sarah saying that, of course, on a backstrap loom, that makes sense, right? That you're using your weight to tension it, so it would go on and off constantly. Anyway, it's an interesting question, and we should all think about why we do it the way we do it. I'm skeptical about overloading Facebook on that Joan Baxter movie because I only saw like 400 people on there, and that is not nearly enough to overload a site, I don't think. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what happened, but something weird definitely happened. And Joan Baxter's stuff was gorgeous. Ooh, that Instagram Ellen with Ishel Suarez sounds good. She's another tapestry weaver that's really interesting to me. She is in Canada, so I will have to look for that. Yeah, what about linen? I don't know about that either, Debbie, about whether you would take the tension off of linen or not. Okay. So I'm going to switch back to this for a second. And because Janice says she saw Joan Baxter using her fingers to pack in the weft. Any thoughts? So when I'm weaving on something like this, I often will do, it's tiny, so I will often do this thing where I'm just pushing the weft in, and then occasionally we'll use a little beater. This is just not even a good comparison. If you follow Erin Riley and you watch some of the videos she's put up on her Instagram page, Instagram feed, she occasionally does videos of herself weaving, and she'll do this. She uses her fingernails to push in the weft. She's weaving on horizontal loom, so she can get this angle and push the weft in that way. There are other weavers who use their fingers a lot. I think Ulrika Leander maybe is another one who has used her tips for a long time on an upright loom to push in the weft. I don't think there's any problem with that. I just think from a medical standpoint that I would be cautious about doing that for decades and decades. If you don't weave that often, I don't think there's any problem at all. But if you're a professional full-time weaver and you're using your fingertips, maybe not so much problem like the way that Erin does it with their fingernails, probably fine. But if you're using the tips of your fingers, I have questions about, the calluses you would create and perhaps other sensory issues. I don't really have a medical reason to say that, except that it would be a question I would have. So Janet also was saying that she has had a wool warp on her big loom for 5 years and hasn't released it and hasn't noticed any problems. So it probably depends somewhat on how that wool warp is made. Michelle was asking about the steaming. So I am not going to steam this live because there's just no way I can manage the camera and it just isn't a possibility with my studio and my setup to show you live how to steam this. But I did do a video of it. So that will be, I will be editing that video. And so last night I steamed it. But so this is, I don't know if, I should have pulled up an image of what it looked like before it was steamed. But it had a lot of waves, especially up here in the where the eccentric stuff is. And now it's completely, I don't know if you can see that, but it's completely flat. It's the miracle of steaming, I'm telling you. It won't take out every error, but it will definitely make a big difference if you're using, especially the cotton warp, because it shrinks a little bit more. It makes everything nice and flat. But wool warp will also shrink somewhat. And then, the back ended up looking like that. So the wool, the Harrisville wool, which is the wider set, all got stitched in. And then the Weaver's Bazaar wool in the 16 ends per inch, I didn't want to needle those ends in because the set is so fine, it was going to show on the front. So I just tied knots and stitched it up. Cut them off at about an inch. That will be fine. This is going to be mounted, so you'll never, there was no reason to try to stitch those in. But I didn't want the bulk of the tails of the fatter yarn on the back. And so then I'm going to do a little braid on the edge. And I did do a video, which was in this month's design class about the braid, and it will be going, I know I've been telling you this for a while, it will be going into the Little Looms class. I have to redo the beginning of the video to put it in the Little Looms class, but that is on my list for this week. So if you're in Little Looms, there will be a video about the braid too. So I'm not going to do the whole thing here, but so what I would do next when finishing this is, actually, now that I look at this, I don't think I've ever done a braid on a piece that had the doubled warp. So that'll be fun. What I usually do when I'm doing the finishing, whether I'm doing half-damascus knots or the little braid, is this very dicey thing that I don't recommend unless you have steady hands and sharp scissors, but I actually stitch. Did you see me shaking there? I actually cut between the warps. I have never cut a warp, but I would be real sad if I did. So that I just do it because it's faster. You could unravel these things. So what I'll do here is unravel the edges. And for this braid I need, I should have trimmed this off earlier. I don't need these to be quite so long. So I'm going to go about there. Oh, sorry, you couldn't see that. That was about here. It's about 6 inches long. You probably don't need it even that long. So I will actually cut these off or take this out as I go. Sorry, this gets a little, I know this seems a little schizophrenic for me to jump back to the questions, but I just wanted to mention that we were talking about Joan beating in with her fingers. And Karen is right. Karen said Joan also used her bobbin to beat. Joan mostly uses her bobbin to beat. I mean, when those shots at the beginning that were through the window where she's using the bobbin to beat in almost all of her weft. So I don't think she's using her fingers most of the time. And what I was talking about with the tips of your fingers with people who don't use the bobbin at all and they're pushing the weft in with the fingers, that's what I was talking about. I don't think Joan is doing that. I think she's using, in a traditional style, she is using the bobbin as her beater. Thank you, Karen, for mentioning that, because that, now that I think about it, that sounded wrong, and I don't want to mischaracterize what Joan is doing in that movie when you all go and see it. Joan was using a loom with leashes. So it's like this loom right behind me, which you won't be able to see that it has a leash bar because there are all of those, LeClaire Tapestry loom, this bar that all those samples are hanging on is the leash bar. So those are heddles that hang from the bar in front and down to the back level of the back shed. So you pull those forward to get one shed, and the other shed is held open with a rod. I think Joan had, did she have leashes? I don't know. She was picking the shed, at least every other shed. I don't know that she was using leashes or not. You know what, Angie? I don't know the answer. Now that I think about it, that loom may have had treadles. She may have been using her feet. So I don't actually know. I'll have to go back and look at it. Someone else might have noticed that. Oh, Anna, thank you. Joan had string heddles. She's very quick. That detail didn't stick in my head though, so. Okay, cool. So Linda says, back to this. Linda says, how will this look when mounted? That is one of the reasons I wouldn't do a fringe on a piece that was going to be sideways. So this will be sideways, and it will look like it will have a little tiny thin braid that goes up this side with a little tail, which could show or not, I don't know, and then one on the other side. And I could make them go both the same way, but I like to have them at opposite corners. So it'll just have a little thin white border that shows. That will be the braid. But it will hang sideways, and it will be framed because it's small, and I like small things to be mounted. I don't know how I will mount it yet, but I have a couple ideas of I want to try a mounting technique that Tommy Scanlon was talking about. So where she's using archival foam core instead of stretcher. So I often use those stretcher things that painters use that you put 4 of them together. They come in all different sizes, which is why they're really nice. And then you put fabric over it and put the tapestry on it. And I think that's the method I talk about in the Little Looms class. But I want to try doing it with a very similar method, but using archival foam core instead of those stretcher streams, so that there's a backing behind, because this piece is larger, a backing behind it. Barbara, this is a good question. Will your braid go over 3, 5, or even 7 warps? I hadn't decided. Also, I might have to play with this for a second, because these warps are doubled, and I haven't done a braid with a doubled warp. Tiny, maybe only 3. I think because this warp is thin, I'm going to try 5 to start with. Can you see that? Sort of. And I'm looking for a weight. Let's use a camera. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want an odd number of warps. Let's just experiment with this and see. I know y'all aren't going to really be able to see this, but there will be a video. There is a video in the design class, and there will be a video of this in the Little Looms class this week, I swear. All I have to do is put a new header on it and change a couple things. Okay, and then I like to use a little this is the braid we all were talking about a week or two ago from Peter Collingwood's book, is where it's the easiest way to access it. And there is a link to that in on that. If you look at the big picture, wait, right there. Change the Shed, RebeccaMezoff.com/change-the-shed with hyphens in it. I don't know if I'm going to like this. I'm going to have to play with this a little bit, y'all. I might actually end up doing the braid with the warps doubled, because I think this is going to look a little bit weird, but experimenting, right? I think, Linda, that 5 might be too wide. I think you might be right. Let's see. Oh, cool, Marcia. I think I'm not. I bet you can't really see that. And I bet if I zoom in, oh, maybe it'll focus. Yeah. I don't think I like it with the single. Marcia says that she uses the stretcher bars and foam core that's cut to the outside dimensions of the stretcher bars and then covered in fabric. Sounds like a good combination, Marcia. Thank you. So the stretcher bars are on the back, Marcia? So the foam core ends up on the front of the piece, and then the stretcher bars are what you're like stapling the fabric to? That seems like that would make sense. Karen says, vote, try with double ends. Okay, let's try it with double ends. Let's do 3 with doubled ends and see what it looks like. I need an odd number. Janice, the Little Looms video, there's bonus sections. Every class has a bonus section. And the most new videos I put in are in those sections. Actually, there's a lot of videos in those bonus sections that I get questions about stuff, and the answers are in the bonus section. So if you have the classes, make sure when you first go into a new class that you actually look at the bonus section, because there might be, when people ask a lot of questions about the same thing, I will put a video in the bonus section. And usually I'll put a reference in the text of the original video, but people always miss the text editions. So, this might be better. Might have to go to 5 though. Thanks, Marcia. She says yes. So I'll have to think about that. So archival foam core right behind the piece, and then the stretcher frames behind the foam core. And that gives you, so that was my problem with the foam core, is that there's nowhere to staple the fabric to, and so you could stitch it around the back, but that seems like a good solution. Thanks, Marcia. If you haven't seen Marcia Ellis's work, you should go check out her website. It's fabulous. Okay, so that looks totally different. Let's see. What do you think now, Karen? Can you guys see that? That's better. I think I like it. It's a lot better than the one with just the single. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I like that one. Okay, cool. Marcia says using the stretcher bars in addition to the foam core gives you more strength around the edge of the piece, which that's why I started thinking about this in part, was because it's a larger piece, so I wanted the firm backing that the foam core would give me, but I also feel like it won't be strong enough. So the stretcher bars in addition seem like a fabulous solution. Oh yeah, Mary, that's a great tip. I actually have some of those too. She says she uses forceps to, so when you're doing a braid like this, especially when the warp is so thin, you can use a pinching tool, like forceps that you would use, like a surgeon would use. But you can buy similar, like I have a hemostat. Is that what it's called? That's a surgical tool that clamps when you close it, but you can get them like for craft stuff. Anyway, you could use a tool like that to weave in, grab the warp you need and pull it through. So I think that's a fabulous tip. I could probably not find that tool of mine right now if you paid me, but I will watch for it. Okay, I think this is going to be a nice braid. Oh, Linda, great question. So she asked what my first, so when I did the original header, I did, let's see if I can get closer. It's still going to be hard to see, but there's a row of twining, which is the first thing that you see right there at the tip of my beater. That was twining that goes all the way across. Here. There, you can see it a little bit better. That was a twining row. And then I have, it looks like just, there's probably three picks of warp as weft. That was just to give it a tiny little bit of, a little bit wider edge there. I could have just done the twining because I knew I was going to do the braid. And that would give it an edge too. I'm not sure it would matter either way, but it's interesting to compare this to the half-damascus knot, which is what I use when I'm doing a hem. And I could have done just a half-damascus knot here too, but I really think this braid looks pretty. And after seeing Connie Lippert, the wedge weaver's work, in person last fall. Her pieces all have this little braid on the edge, and they're large pieces, and it looks really nice. So I decided I would use this braid more often. Oh, Mandy, good question. In the courses, I'm just suggesting that you glance at, I'm not saying that you should watch all the bonus videos before you do the rest of the course. I'm just saying go down there and look what's in the bonus section so that you know. The bonus videos aren't applicable to everyone. That's why they're in the bonus section. So if you have a Merrick's loom, there's a bunch of bonus videos about how to use a Merrick's loom. If you don't use a Merrick's loom, then those bonus videos don't mean anything to you. So just look that they're there and know that some of them might apply to you and some of them don't. The stuff in the regular course should apply to pretty much everybody. So yeah, that's all I'm saying. Just go and give a look before you see the rest of before you get too deep in the course. Your question might be answered in the bonus section. Yes, Kit. So the twining here, and actually, that's also a good question. The warp I used for this piece was 26 because I doubled it. So the warp I used for the twining and the warp is weft was 12/6, which is much fatter than the 26. So I did use a fatter warp for that little piece because I wanted the 26 warp will disappear completely, and I wanted the fatter warp there, which might be part of why that braid looks better with the doubled warps because it matches the other warp better. You guys are funny. So different tools for different folks. This piece has been really fun. So thank God it's almost finished. And I have some other things in the works. So I hope you all are doing well. And I have all kinds of projects to work on and more to show you on Monday, which is when I will be back here. I saw a Western tanager yesterday, by the way, for you birders. I have never seen one in my yard, and I think I've only ever seen one ever in my life, one time up in the mountains. And there was one in my backyard all morning yesterday. I was so excited. So I'm waiting for the orioles. I don't know if we'll get them here, but anyway, birds keep you occupied. So I hope that you're having fun with all your new looms and everything else. And yes, I will, Audrey, I will bring it. Wait, that's Nan. Anyway, my favorite TARDIS Doctor Who person. I will bring this back when I get the braids done and show you. The mounting, I should try to mount it soon. I don't know about the rest of you, but I have a whole little pile of unmounted things. And actually a lot of them are unfinished, still sitting here. So it would be nice to spend a couple days just finishing them and mounting them. I don't have the materials to mount this, but my local art supply store is back open again. So I might brave a trip there and get the stuff I need. All right. Goldfinches. John has goldfinches in Kansas. I have a bunch of goldfinches and they're bright yellow now. Also, they're so beautiful. I just was so amazed by the Western tanager. They do come to the Front Range of Colorado, but they're often higher in the mountains. So I was pretty thrilled to find it in my backyard. Cool, you guys. Have fun. Missy's getting a new loom on Sunday. Y'all have Marilyn. I knew someone was going to ask me this. Have I unboxed my Arras loom yet? No, but Marilyn, I will do it before Monday. I'm going to make a video of the unboxing because I'm a little bit, I don't know. I've never done an unboxing video. I think it will be fun. So I will do that, and then that I will put on YouTube. And then I will show you the loom once I get it out and put it together. So yes, Marianne, I will show you the Ross loom. I have had a couple of projects I had to get finished, but it is time to get that loom out. It's sitting right at the top of these stairs, and I walk by it every day thinking, I really need to open that loom. So I will show it to you soon. And thanks for everything, you guys. I'm just rambling now. So have a good weekend in a few days, and I will see you on Monday. And yeah, keep posting what you're working on. It's fun to see. Those of you who use Instagram, it's really fun to see what you're doing. So keep posting and use this hashtag. There is a way I can flip the camera thing so that when I do this, it actually works. It's backwards for me is why I keep getting it wrong. Anyway, doesn't matter. Janet, I feel better. Multiple boxes of unframed tapestries. Yeah. It's a lot of work to mount a tapestry, and so I get lazy and until there's a show that it has to go to, and then I panic and mount whatever. Nancy, I can't unbox mine until you unbox yours. So Nancy, that is big incentive for me. Thank you. I will do it. Have a great weekend, you guys. I will see you on Monday, same time, same channel. And I don't know what I'm going to have Monday, but I'm sure it'll be something. Have a good weekend.